Hello, hello, good evening, and welcome to another Tuesday Night Live here in the Honey Block. I am back. I've been away for a little while. Those of you who know me personally will know that I wasn't well. I wasn't very well. I know, poor me. I had what turned out to be a chest infection, actually. It wasn't COVID, thank God. I did have to visit hospital just for a few hours just so they could give me some meds, etc. But forget all of that. I'm back and I am happy to be here. I'm glad to have you guys back as well, joining us here live. And tonight's show is an amazing show. As per usual, I have so many great guests. They all have amazing stories. But when I tell you this lady's story that I'm going to be talking to tonight is phenomenal, I am not over-exaggerating. Tonight, we are talking about achieving your dreams, fulfilling your dreams. And the reality is, when it comes to fulfilling our dreams, we all have different ways of approaching our dreams, our goals. Some of us are kind of, yep, it's in my head and I will just strive towards it. And then you kind of deal with it as you go along. Others, quite orderly, strategic, and specific. We write things down and we follow methodically, step by step, everything until we've completed that goal. Okay, some people, they kind of have a task in mind. They do that task. As soon as they finish it, they say, what's next? Other people, they plan out 5 steps ahead, just like a game of chess. I don't know how you plan out your goals or how you receive your dreams or your visions or how you go about achieving them. But tonight we're going to talk about it, because who doesn't want to achieve their goals, right? Everybody wants to achieve their visions, their dreams, and their goals. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk to none other than Natalie Louise Brown. And this lady is absolutely phenomenal. As I said before, I'm going to go through some of her credentials. I'm going to play this little show reel here just so you can see some of the people that she has had the pleasure of not just knowing but interviewing also. Have a look at this. So we see here none other than Richard Branson. Do you know what? Let me just reel off some of her credentials. She had started out in traditional employment. After leaving school, Natalie spent 10 years working in the finance sector in London, but then she found an outlet for her love in media, music, and fashion. So she had a property portfolio worth 1.1 million, and now she owns homes both in the UK and overseas, with the most exotic being in Cape Verde. She has interviewed so many people on her show, Time with Natalie. She has interviewed people such as self-made millionaires and celebrities, including Robert G. Allen, author, Beverley Knight, Holly Valance, Stedman Graham, who is the long-term partner of Oprah Winfrey, Sir Richard Branson, of course, T.D. Jakes, Israel Horton, Les Brown, Chris Gardner, DeVon Franklin, and so many, many others. And we're going to be talking about her journey tonight. And we're going to be talking about how she has gone through all that she's gone through to achieve her own dreams, and the hope that we can learn and achieve our dreams too. So without further ado, I would like to welcome tonight none other than Natalie Louise Brown. Good evening, my lady. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening. Are you sure you're talking about me? You're not talking about someone?
Most definitely am. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. How are you this evening? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. Thank you. Yeah.
Have you kept safe during this time? Has everything been okay with you and your loved ones?
Yeah. Everything's great. I found out a couple of days ago my niece has got COVID-19.
Oh dear.
But she's okay. Yeah.
She's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, she's okay. So
okay, that's good. That's good.
We're all good though. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, that's good to know. You always have to check these days because, you know, the thing is, some people unfortunately have really suffered and gone into intensive care. Some people have unfortunately passed away. And, you know, we can't take anything for granted at these times. We need to stay safe, etc. So I always like to check. But I'm happy that you're well, and I'm happy that all your loved ones are well too. So where do we start? Okay, so there are so many different ways that we can start this in terms of your own personal journey. Now, I've done some research. I know you have had all the things that I've reeled off there. I know they are not without their fair share of pain and struggle and just overcoming adversity, etc. So, you know, I'm not going to delve straight into the deep stuff for now. Let's start off light. Just for those people who are watching or listening, because this will be on the podcast too. For those people listening that don't know who Natalie Louise Brown is, just tell us a little bit about yourself and just how you went from the corporate world into the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure. Well, I born in London, Londoner, but brought up in Rugby. And really over the years, I've kind of been back and forth between the two. And last week, I actually moved back to London. Yeah. So I'm happy to be back. And it's been an interesting journey for me because it was funny. When I was listening to your introduction with regards to goals and how people, you know, achieve their goals and their dreams and things. And I am very much a right brain kind of person. So for me, I'm very much a kind of ready, fire, aim kind of person. So throughout my whole life, I kind of, everything that I've done, I've been able to do purely because I just have something in me that just can't help myself. When I see an opportunity, I always say I can smell an opportunity a mile away. So when I see an opportunity, I just can't help but, you know, give it a go and give life a go. So it was interesting how I kind of fell into the whole corporate world. I've done a number of different jobs. I used to be an estate agent and I've done a number of different things. And being in the corporate world, I knew that wasn't for me. I knew that wasn't really what I wanted to do. Just not my cup of tea. I was in finance, working in a finance company, very boring for me. You know, nothing against finance. You know, for some people, they love it. They love it, corporate world, but it just wasn't for me.
Okay.
And I think it's important to listen to gut instinct. You know, when something is not for you, it's not for you for a reason.
Right. So what were the signs for you that you kind of figured out, actually, no, this is not for you? Is it like the people interaction? Are you more of a people person? Was it more about you? Yeah.
I'm very much a people person, and just I don't know, like I said, I'm very much a right brain kind of person. So I love like music, I love films, fashion, football. I'm just more creative. You know, my whole makeup is just more creative. Because when I was about, how old was I? Maybe about 20, I started a travel company. I ended up moving to Rome, and I worked for a company that gave guided tours around the Vatican and the Colosseum. Now I didn't actually give the tours. I was just working in the office, but eventually I had to move back to London. And so what I decided to do was I decided to set up my own travel company, being like the agent, the middleman for this tour company. So I had meetings with like lastminute.com and trying to negotiate various different things, partnerships. So even from then, I realized that, you know, this is more what I'm geared to do, because I also ended up being funded by the Prince's Trust. They believed in my idea of the travel company, and they funded me. And I'll be forever grateful to them for believing in me and seeing the opportunity to support me. So, yeah, I think there's always signs there, you know, there are always signs there from the beginning. Sometimes it just takes a while for us to really, you know, really tune into those and really listen to those and decide that actually I'm going to follow my dream and not the dream of somebody else.
Right. Okay. So you're in that position, you're feeling the signs, you're feeling, okay, I need to kind of change here. This isn't me. I know that I'm more than this. How then do you approach making that step towards making the transition? So you know that you're feeling that itch. It's a big deal to kind of come out, especially finance sector. It's usually quite well paid, very comfortable.
Yes.
So how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that was the problem in the fact, you know, the finance sector, the city is generally more well paid than the more creative side. But in all honesty, for me, the way my journey went, I ended up getting very sick. So I ended up having a nervous breakdown, and ended up with anxiety and depression. And I was having panic attacks. I couldn't leave my house. My life was just an absolute mess. Looking back on it now, that was the turning point of everything that you see now. So I want to encourage your viewers, though, don't let it get to that point. I'm not saying everybody's going to end up, getting so knocked off their feet like I did, but sometimes life has a way of forcing you to make a change when you don't make that change yourself. So, for instance, if you look at 2020 with the whole COVID-19, and it's been awful for so many people. It's been challenging for a lot of people have lost their jobs. But I'm a great believer in there's an opportunity there somewhere if you could just look for it. I know it's devastating to lose your job and be worried about money and how you're going to pay your bills. But I always believe that there is an opportunity there if you just look for it.
Yeah, and I realize that about yourself. I did a bit of research, and I hear that a lot from you, that there are opportunities out there, and really you're kind of I wouldn't even say an opportunity seeker, but an opportunity recognizer. It's like something goes off in your head, like radars being, aha. Now, before we get into that, I do want to kind of step back a little bit, if you don't mind, and just hit on that transition point, because I think that's really helpful for a lot of people, especially at this time. We all hear, yes, don't focus too much on the here and now, and think about the opportunities or think about how to do something better. But what does that practically mean for people, especially at times like this where money is a real issue? How do people kind of manage those emotions and do something practical? As you said, you had a nervous breakdown. You suffered from anxiety. I think you're very well placed, to give some practical tips. So, what did you do to get out of that?
Okay, so just using that example again of how I ended up transitioning, not by choice, because I would never have chosen to have had a nervous breakdown. But what ended up happening was I ended up having to move out of London to go and live with my mum in Rugby because I was so sick, I just couldn't cope, and the panic attacks. And I remember my mum always used to say to me, just walk from here to the gate. That's all you need to do today. Just walk from here to the front gate. And then when you feel confident and feel you're able to do that, okay, then just walk from here to the end of the road. And then when you feel you can do that, just walk to the next road. And basically, that's how I got back on my feet alongside my faith. But those small steps, step by step by step. So when I think about somebody who has a dream, and especially in times like this of hardship and where you sometimes just can't see the wood from the trees, my advice is just, okay, I always say to people, if you had £1 million in the bank, what would you do as a job? So money's not a problem. You've got all the money there. You don't have to worry about paying your bills. What would you do with your day? What would you do as work? Because that's what you should be doing. And once people are clear as to what it is they really want to do, and most people know, you really want to work with children, you really want to work with animals, you really want to work in travel or whatever it is. Once you've got that clarity on this is what I really want to do, then it just becomes the small steps to get there. So to me, I always think, okay, logically, what would you do? Who do you need to send an email to somebody? Do you need to call somebody? Do you need to post something on social media just saying I'm looking for a job as whatever? What would be the next logical, just the next step? Because I think when we kind of think of the big vision and the big dream, we get so overwhelmed because you think, okay, I really want to write that book, but writing a book is a lot of work. So instead of focusing on the whole book, okay, can you just write 100 words today? or even 10 words, you know, what can you do? What is the next step? So that's how I try and think about it, is logically, what is the next step? And I know that there's a marketer that I follow, Brendan Burchard. He always says that common sense is not always common practice. Because when people ask me certain things, I'm, you know, how did you meet Michelle Obama or Oprah Winfrey or getting Oprah magazine, this, that, and the other? I'm like, well, you know, if you want to meet, not that they're in the White House now, but when, you know, they were in the White House, White House, no? Logically, that would be that's what I would think straight away. Well, why don't you just call the White House? You know, you just never know. And to some people, you're like, what? You know, no way. But I'm like, yeah, why not? Somebody's going to call them. They've got a number for a reason. So, but that's just how my brain thinks. So I know not everybody thinks that way, and maybe they get so overwhelmed with the bigger picture. So I would say to them, just take small baby steps. What's the next best step that you can take today to get
brilliant? Brilliant. I love that, because I think, you know, what you described there, what your mom encouraged you to do was celebrate something, like have an achievement that is within your grasp. That once you've done it, you've achieved something that built your confidence, right? And then you kind of extend that. And that's another part of it, that most times when people reach a target, they then don't stretch themselves. So with your experience, it's not an analogy, but I'll use it as an analogy. People only go to the gate. You know, they consistently go to the gate. They know they get success by going to the gate, but they don't know they can get to the end of the street. They don't know that they can. Do you see what I mean? I think that.
Yeah, but I also like what you said about celebrating, because I'm bad at doing that. When I've accomplished something, I've then moved on to the next thing already. So I think that's an important point as well. What you're saying is, even if you know, my example of writing a book and you've just written 10 words today, celebrate that. You're still 10 words closer than what you were yesterday.
That's right.
I think that is a really valid point as well. The small.
Definitely. I think is amazing, because I think therein is the resilience. You know, you've spoken to Chris Gardner. You know, what a powerful story of resilience there. I mean, there's a lot of people you've spoken to that have these kind of overcoming barriers stories. And I think when you kind of break it down, there's a few things. One, these people are human just like you and I.
Yeah.
That's something we forget, because we see all the success. We kind of forget that they're actually just people. And also, they've all had to make that decision, just like you did, to actually try something. Try something within your ability. Try. And then when you do achieve, you celebrate, and then you stretch that and you try again. Because I think you and I think alike. I would definitely call the White House. Like I would have no problem calling the White House. I'd be like, hi, it's OC. You know, just,
why not?
Because what's the worst that could happen? That's my mind thinks. You know, they can only say no.
Yeah,
and I'll just be back at square one. So there's nothing lost.
You haven't lost anything, have you?
That's right. That's right. So okay, let's talk about opportunity now, because I did say I will come back to that. So you love finding and noticing and spotting opportunities, and you create something out. How do you do that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's just something that is in you as an entrepreneur, where I personally, I'm not saying everybody, but I can be a little bit like shiny syndrome. So I see so many, but the danger of seeing that is that you're trying to do everything at the same time and you can't. So there's spotting opportunity, but there's also, like I said before, about clarity. You've got to remember your purpose. So you're here for a reason. You've got a race to run that's a specific race to you. And just because an opportunity is a good opportunity, it just might not be either the opportunity for you, or it's just not the right time for that, because you'll get distracted, which is what I tend to do. The danger of seeing them all the time. is that you want to take them all the time, and you can't, because for this particular season, you're being told, do that, park that one for a minute, that's fine, but you must stay focused and do that. And I always say to people, I'm a brilliant starter, but I'm a rubbish finisher. And I remember Coach Patrice saying to me, okay, entrepreneurs generally are a little bit like that, but drop the rubbish finisher. You are a brilliant starter. You know how to start. You don't have fear to start. You see the opportunity. That is not your problem. So what you need to do is help people get started. I think that's where my lane comes in the fact of a lot of people have that fear and they just don't start. Whereas I'm the opposite. So I think that's one of my gifts of where I can help someone. So in all honesty, when it comes to spotting the opportunities, I think you just have to, maybe if it's not something that comes natural to you, just be more aware of it. Just actually tell yourself, okay, you're going to look for it. You're going to look for the opportunity today. And it might be something super, super simple that doesn't necessarily, you think maybe doesn't lead you to your ultimate goal, but it will do at some point, So you maybe just have to force yourself a little bit to just kind of just have a bit more awareness of what's going on around you. And then you'll start seeing things cropping up. It's like they say when you're looking to buy a certain type of car, you then see it everywhere, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I think it can be a similar kind of thing where it's like, okay, today I'm going to look for the opportunity, and then you'll start seeing them popping up. So
that's brilliant. Well, thanks so much for that. I was smiled when you said that you kind of can get distracted when you see them all, because I hope my wife's not watching, because she would be telling you to carry on. She'd be saying preach. She'd be getting up and throwing a hanky in the air and all sorts of things, because that is me. I do see a lot of opportunities, almost too many. I do find that there's room for people who don't see opportunity. Here's my thoughts on it. I think that people who are naturally gifted at finding opportunities, what they need are advocates, right? And those people who don't spot opportunities, they need to get to a place where they actually recognize the people that do and trust those people that do, and kind of get behind it. Like, if you like the vision, not if you have nothing to do with it, but if that vision that they have is something that resonates with you, advocate for them, get behind it. Because I think, like you said, with the great starter, you need someone else who will be the finisher, like the great finisher. And together, that's how you've got something great.
That is so true, because not everybody is, meant to be a Branson and see the opportunities and start 300 different companies. He needs, the reason why I think he's so successful is because he's great at delegating. So he's really, really good at finding the people that are amazing at what they do, and bringing them in to run his businesses. So I think that you're absolutely right. Us entrepreneur right brain people really need the left brain people to help with the detail, because I'm not detailed. I cannot stand detail. I'm up here. I'm the big visionary. I can see the opportunities. We can do this, go there, and then when people start talking about, the fine detail, I'm like, what? I start getting bored.
This is it. But it's about knowing your strengths, right? So you want those people on your team, and you want them to talk about it. You can switch off for a little bit, but as long as they're saying the right thing and it works,
Yeah, it's so true. It is so true.
It's brilliant. I think that synergy. I think Richard Branson is an excellent example as well, just of that whole. Just something pops to mind whenever I think of Richard Branson. A lot of people, when they're beginning at that beginning stage, they kind of have that question. It's almost like imposter syndrome, right? So they're thinking to themselves, "Who am I to start such and such? Who am I to do? What do I know about it? Why should I start this?" And when you think of all the things that Richard Branson does, I mean, come on now. Can we expect that he is an absolute expert in every single one of those areas? There's no way. But actually, he had the vision for them, and he got the right people involved to make that vision happen.
Yeah.
You know, trains, planes, travel, music, mortgages, loans,
things,
yeah. I mean, and I think that really is a lesson to people who are watching or listening, that actually, start, get the right people around you, and build something. Because I guess you're a testament to that, in terms of the fact that you literally went from just nervous breakdown, like there's not much worse that can happen, so, and then to become the success that you are, and all the things that you've achieved along the way. I think that's amazing testimony. It just shows we can do it. We can do it. And you mentioned faith before. I noticed. Feel free. Look, this is Tuesday Night. Feel free to talk.
I can't take credit. Like when people meet me, I think they're surprised. They're like, "Oh, you're a lot more, down to earth and humble." I'm like, "Well, what else am I going to be? I'm no big I am," because I know that it's God that has done all of this for me. Okay, there's an element of, faith without works is dead. You have to do something. I didn't sit back and do nothing, and then Richard Branson came knocking on my door. Oprah Winfrey's knocking on my door. That's how it works. If you I know we don't have time for it now, but if I actually share the stories of how I managed to meet these people, then there was a lot of action that I actually took. But honestly, when I think back to the nervous breakdown, it was my faith really that got me through, because it was at that time where I was at my lowest. And I remember a lady saying to me, God will help you. And I was like, no way. I said, there's more important people. There are kids starving in Africa. And I just didn't get it. The connection just wasn't there. To the point where nothing was working. They wanted to give me antidepressants. I tried Chinese herbal remedies. I tried acupuncture. I tried everything, and I just could not get well. And in the end, cut a long story short, I ended up going to church and became a Christian. And ever since then, my life has like completely turned around. And if I actually think about it now, to be honest with you, like when I was back in secondary school, me and my friend used to be like big fans of Bros.
Okay, When will I be famous? Yes, the Gus brothers. They're brothers. They weren't twins, were they? They were just brothers.
Yeah, twins.
Were they twins? Yeah. So Matt and Luke Gus. Yes, I remember. Yeah. I wasn't a fan, but I'll tell you what. I think it was Luke that was the martial artist, and I think he was the Phantom Menace. I'm sure it was him.
But what we would do was we were in school in rugby at the time, and we used to bunk off school, get the train down to London. I always said to my friend, we're going to meet them. And we did. Every single time we came to London, we would find them and we would meet them. And when I actually look back now, because I ended up meeting like Mariah Carey and Mark Wahlberg and all these famous people when I was about 18, 19, 20.
So hold on, what era? Is this like at their peak? You're talking about Mark Wahlberg. Wow.
Yeah, honestly, I could.
Big deal.
Story. This is when he was in Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Remember Vibration? I could tell you how I ended up making him. This is why it was. When I think about it now, I think about it just happened. But actually, when I actually think about what I did, wasn't there was so much strategy in my head, but I didn't realize at the time how I met Mariah Carey. I was strategic, but I'm surprised that I managed to pull it off.
Right.
Same with Mark Wahlberg. I'm like, wow. So when I now actually look back at my life then, before I even knew God and before I was even Christian, I think it's always been in my lane. It's always been a part of my destiny, the celebrity world and being connected to well-known people. And people, it's because you have that energy. It's where God wants you to be.
Yeah.
You have that energy with them. You're not the big I am. And that's just your path in life. Because somebody said, I can do exactly what you do, exactly the way you do it, and still not get the result that you get.
Right.
It's true. There was still strategy that I did people with whatever they want to do in life. So I think it's just been an interesting walk for me with God, because the more I think about it, the more I think, how on earth? You talked about imposter syndrome. I was on Necker Island with Richard Branson, right? And there was about 30 entrepreneurs there. And I'm sitting there thinking, what am I doing? I was honestly in tears because I just didn't feel like I was in there at all.
And these are the realities of it. Everybody has that, I guess, because of this, I don't know, social media generation. Everything is, you post it, you make sure you look good on the outsides. Therefore, that's what real life is like. Whereas, that imposter syndrome, I think it gets a lot of people. I think it really does. I think you're not the only one. Listen, if I was on the island and with all of those other people as well, I might have melted into a little puddle on the floor. So I don't know. My wife says I'm too proud for that, so I probably wouldn't have. But no, that's a very real thing. I think it's amazing. I think it really is amazing, especially the fact that you said you tried all those different things, and then in the end, your faith is the thing that pulled you through. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
I can never take credit. I can never take.
I'm going to bring out the round of applause for that. A round of applause. Amazing. Okay, so you mentioned Richard Branson. You've mentioned some others. Now, you've interviewed some amazing people, like some people who have achieved amazing things. What, and I know because I do these interviews as well, in terms of you always learn something from the people you interview. What would you feel are the biggest lessons that you've learned from the people that you've interviewed, maybe as a whole or maybe individuals, anything that sticks out?
I'd say from all of them, I have learned, I think I touched on it a minute ago, about being humble. You meet Richard and he's just as nice can be. He's quite shy. He doesn't always eye contact. And I'm like, but you're Sir Richard Branson, But yes, Stedman, Oprah's partner that I interviewed, was just fantastic. Such a lovely guy. All the people that I've interviewed have been so kind and down to earth when they didn't really need to be. They could, pretend that they are the big I am and have all these airs and graces. So that's definitely something that I've learned from them all, in that they've all been very humble and down to earth. So I do believe that people should never get above their stations. I remember when I used to work at Arsenal, and my favorite player was Patrick Vieira. Because him and his wife would always talk to everybody, whether you were the CEO, whether you were the cleaner, whether you were the steward. They were just so friendly to everybody. That goes a long way, They'll be happy, be kind, just be kind to people. So I definitely learned that. And you touched on it as well, where you just talk about them being human beings. They are the same as you and I. The difference is their discipline. They know what they're good at. They know what their strengths are, and they've stayed disciplined to complete what it is that they want to do. So I know a lot of people talk about motivation, and we can all get motivated and rah. Les Brown is the king of motivation.
Yes. Even just his laugh. Sorry, when Les Brown laughs, it uplifts you. I don't know this guy. I can't even do his laugh. I'm not going to try, but
I know. But just the discipline he had to keep practicing. So I know we talk a lot about motivation, but I think if you think of all these people, I think it's more discipline. Even if you don't want to do it, you have to be consistent. Like, I'm trying to consistently put out content on social media, but it's a challenge, but you have to discipline yourself. So I think that's another thing that I've really learned from them, is just the fact that you have to discipline yourself no matter what.
That's amazing. Humility and discipline. That's probably the two things that we naturally fight against the most. That's very interesting. Very interesting. But no, I love that, because, quite often we could misunderstand that, especially I think because most people, I would say but most people gauge success on the amount of money in the bank. So when people realize someone's net worth or what people are earning, they kind of automatically assume certain things about their personality. But you know what you're sharing is really insightful. That actually they're humble.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be humble when you're successful, you can't just turn it on when you arrive there. I guess you have to be humble from the start. So I think that's very powerful, and that discipline. Wow, yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult, but
hard. It's really hard because, like, I did a 28-day juice plan during lockdown. Ended up losing 17 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, if you'd have told me I'd be doing that in the middle of lockdown, I'd be like, crazy. And
so I'll give you a round of applause.
I got to about day 5 and I was like, that's it. I quit. And then I was like, okay, just get to day 7. At least you've done a week. But then God had this plan. I don't know if you watched Michael Jordan's The Last Dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
amazing.
Sorry, hold on. Let me just stop you a second. You worked at Arsenal. Are you an Arsenal fan?
Yes.
Hadouken! Shoryuken! You win. Perfect.
I'll just give you everything. All the sound effects. Give you everything. Well done. I knew you were a special person. I knew you're a special person. Well done. Well done. Well done.
I love football. Love my boys, Arsenal. And yeah, I'm a huge gooner.
Fantastic. So, yeah, football and basketball are my main things, and Arsenal and Michael Jordan are my main things. So you mentioned them both, and I'm just like, hold on a second. Let me just check that you actually are an Arsenal fan. And now we can move on. So yes, Michael Jordan, Last Dance.
Keys to success, isn't it? Just be an Arsenal fan and your life is good.
Seriously, I think maybe next time for this session, if this title comes up again, I will just put up that as a screensaver. I'll leave it up for an hour. And that's it. Just support Arsenal, be humble and disciplined, and like basketball. That's it.
Yeah, so I watched back to back the Last Dance.
The Last Dance, yes.
Every sermon I watched after that used Michael Jordan as an example of discipline. So I knew God was saying to me, don't you dare give up on that juice plan just yet. So I got to day 14 and I thought, okay, by the time you get to day 15, you're over halfway there. So it's right. So you're like, okay, just keep going day by day, get to day 21. And if you really want to quit, you can quit. But then you're like 7 days out, aren't you? So yeah, that's how I managed to do the 28-day juice plan, because the discipline, I really wanted to quit at day 5. But then I was like, get to day 7 and then day 14 and then day 15. And then by day 15, you've got less to go than you've just done. So you can keep going. And that's how I managed to do it. So it's again, those small steps.
Same analogy.
Days.
Yeah.
Day by day by day.
That's brilliant. It's the same thing again. It's the gate, it's the garden, it's the end of the street. It's breaking it down into those measurable. I love it. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And well done again for completing that. Well done. Okay, so tell us about Triple B, the bold, brave, and the beautiful. What is that? So I know, but I want you to tell everybody who's listening and watching, what is the bold and brave and beautiful?
Yeah, it's the theme that I have taken to my heart, because I'm all about empowering women. Obviously, I love to empower the men as well, but I'm about empowering women, especially with my story of, the nervous breakdown and anxiety and everything. So it came to me last year where I really just wanted to encourage women to live a life that was bold, brave, and beautiful. And one of the ways I'm doing that is by I have a number of properties, and one of them is an 8-bedroom house that I'm turning into a women's home. And so this home is going to be a place where women are encouraged, are inspired, that we instill boldness and braveness into them. And I just think it's just a concept for me where, as women, especially as women over 40, because that's who I feel like I really want to reach, is women over 40 who feel like maybe it's too late, or they've lost their way a little bit, lost their identity. I just want to be able to support them and encourage them and say, look, I'm nearly 50. And if I can do it, little old nobody from rugby, then you can do it. Because sometimes I sit back and I think, gosh, how have I met all these people? It's not even like, I know I am kind of from London, but I was brought up in rugby. So yeah, it's just a concept that I've created where I really want to encourage women that you can do it. The fear will not go away. You're just going to have to push through, but with a community of people around you, giving you that encouragement, you can do it. And I remember my pastor saying to me at the time when I was really ill, he was saying that, I know your faith is strong. This is when I was just becoming a Christian. He said, I know your faith is weak, I know your faith is weak, so lean on my faith. And that's how I feel about this. I feel like you may not have the boldness, you may not have the bravery, you may not feel beautiful, but lean on me. Let me try and instill that into you, because I can see it. Even if you can't see it, I can see it. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind
wow, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I'm a bit jealous. We kind of need a men's version of this, right? So I'm teasing. But I think it's an amazing thing. I really do. I think that there are many things these days that I feel kind of just really attack the self-esteem of people in general, but particularly women. There's a lot of pressure just from day to day, just to do the simple things. I think that both your story of what you've been through and just your passion as well. I think that's really it's just amazing that you've set that up as a hub for people to be supported. So did you put on events and things like that through that?
Yeah, I was doing events. Unfortunately now with COVID and everything, it's not so possible to do that. But I was fortunate enough to be chosen as a face for L'Oreal campaign. So I would have L'Oreal, kind of like supporting me, because of course it goes with their vision of instilling confidence. It's not beauty on the outside and changing what's on the inside. It's about, you've got to change what's on the inside first. So I would do that through a number of different events, through my videos online. And through speaking and just sharing my story as well with, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And like I say, even some days I just don't want to do it, and I'm not that confident, especially now as I'm kind of like perimenopausal. It throws in another element of challenge now, where you feel like, oh, can you give me a break? But sometimes you just have to push through, because I tell you what I see as well is you've got to have in your head that it's not about you. There are people out there that are waiting, that need you. They don't need somebody else. They are waiting for you, to step into your gift and into your purpose. You're the one that's been sent to help them. And so try and use that as my encouragement when I feel like, I just don't want to do it today. I'll try and remember that there's a woman out there that needs me. And like the whole challenge of turning my 8-bedroom house into a women's home, because what I'm actually going to do with that is convert it all into flats and apartments, because then the women have their own space and close the door. If they've got kids, they've got their own space. And that's a challenge in itself, trying to do that. But I have to remember when it gets rocky, it's about these women and their children. They need this space. So yeah, you have to push through. So
wow, that's amazing. I'm sure you faced a lot of challenges during COVID in terms of because I know some of the videos you had from last year, you were stating your plans. How have you had to adapt because of COVID?
Yeah, it has been challenging. So it's funny because this year I really wanted to fly to America. I was supposed to go to Oprah's event. I was supposed to go to TD Jakes' event. There were a number of events I was supposed to go to that I hadn't been into for a few years. So I was so disappointed that I couldn't get to those to be able to share what they were sharing. So yeah, I think this year has been challenging in the sense that I had a lot of plans for this year that I wanted to do. But, in amongst it all, like I said, there are other opportunities there. So it's fine that I couldn't go. It's not a problem. I just had to look for the other opportunities, or goes back to what we were saying earlier about focusing on what I'm supposed to do. So the women's home I've wanted to do for like 6 or 7 years now. And maybe God's saying, no, you're not going to go there. You are going to focus and get this women's home and everything else done. So so when I look back at the moment, I can't complain. It's been a pretty, if I'm honest, I'm back in London. I've lost 17 pounds. Life is,
That's good. That's good. And for those people who've just tuned in, that's not 17 pounds of money. That's 17 pounds in weight. Talking in the imperial system here. So, yes, I think that that is excellent. Just the adapting, and again finding opportunities, and I think as well sometimes letting go, because I think that not everybody would be okay with missing out on those plans that you had, right? But I get a sense that you kind of roll with the punches. You go with the flow. You strike me as someone like that. Is that how you are?
Yeah, I think so. Like if I miss an opportunity, I can get a little bit like, oh. And when people that don't have the same mindset as you kind of try and put you off from certain things, that can affect your confidence. So, I feel like what's yours is yours, and at the right time it will manifest. So even though this year might look a little bit, challenging, and it might look like things are not working out, you'll never miss out on something that's for you. Never. It will be for you at the right time. It will. It will.
Excellent. Now, can I talk to you very briefly about your time in the US? Because I understand that you moved there and then your car was stolen or something like that. Is that right?
No, I didn't. I haven't lived in the US. No.
Oh, have you not? Okay.
No, that my car was stolen when I was an estate agent.
Right. Okay.
That was the beginning of me buying all the houses. So it was a setup.
Right.
The day that I started as an estate agent, my car was stolen, and I remember my pastor, and he was laughing, and I'm like, "What are you laughing about?" He said, "Because it's a setup. There are great things coming," and he was right, because within 3 months, I had a brand new car worth a much better car than what was stolen. The insurance gave me back double the money of the value of the car.
Right.
My salary was tripled by a new company that took over the original company that I was working with.
Nice.
I became a top sales agent at the estate agents, and I ended up buying 8 houses.
Wow. Okay. So first of all,
encourage people not to try. It's hard, I know, but try not to be disheartened during this season. Try, because there are blessings around the corner. They are coming.
That is amazing. I have to give you a round of applause. The fact is, some people, let me say this, and now I'm just going to say it straight. Some people, if their pastor had laughed when their car got stolen, they wouldn't just leave the church, right? They would be sending letters to other churches around the area saying, nobody go to this church here because my car was stolen. My pastor laughed. Yeah, reviews, like what are those review sites? They would have typed all these negative reviews and stuff. But you actually stopped and you listened to what he said. And what he said was true. Like, it was a setup for something great coming up. That's quite amazing. That's quite amazing.
Yeah.
That's very difficult to see at the time, though.
And that's where it came back to him saying, lean on my faith, because I was a new Christian, and he's like, you don't understand what's going on. So just trust me and lean on my faith, because I can see it.
Interesting. So what I would like to know, like we said at the top of the show, you've interviewed so many fantastic people. You've just like you met Michelle Obama when they were in the White House. You've Richard Branson. The list goes on and on and on and on. Now all of those things are fantastic. You've taken opportunities and you've created, I would say, created dreams out of those opportunities, right? In your bio, it mentions the properties mentions the people that you've interviewed, but it also mentions philanthropy, right? And I want you to just kind of talk about that, because a lot of times I get from you that you're a giving person. I get that from you, from what I've read, from what I've researched, and just from talking to you. You seem like someone who's ready to give. In the pursuit of happiness, not Chris Garden pun, but in someone's pursuit of their dream or in their pursuit of their goal, how does one balance getting ahead and giving at the same time? How do people maintain that balance?
Yeah, good question. And I could just already feel myself feeling a little bit, because of the recent example. Let me give you this quick example as to why I'm kind of like ended up here. So I knew I wanted to move back to London. I wasn't sure where to live, and I thought Hampstead's beautiful, so I want to live in Hampstead. And then I ended up having a look around Hampstead and came across this amazing street with like 10, 20 million pound houses on. And I said to God, that's where I want to be. Love this street. Fast forward to around June time. So we're in the middle of lockdown pandemic, and a property comes up for rent on that street. And I was like, oh, wow. So I decided to take it. I'd never even seen it. I just put down deposit, decided to take it. But the timing was off and God had other plans. Anyway, there was a young girl that had a property company that was helping me rent out one of my properties. And in the end, I knew I needed to sell this property. And so she really wanted to get on the housing market herself. She didn't own a property yet. And she said, would I do a lease option with her? And I was like, I don't know. Cut a long story short, I decided to do it. But it was a sacrifice to me because I needed to move into that property in the short term. But instead of me moving into that 3-bedroom house, I decided to give that house to her, and I moved into a 1-bedroom flat. And that was more problematic for me because I had furniture of a 4-bedroom house. So I had to put everything in storage. Wow. You know, no logical sense, OC, to have done what I did. You know, just move into your own 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Because my heart is to give, and when you're a giver, you can't lose. So fast forward to now, and the reason why I've ended up in the property in Hampstead that I asked God for, I believe at a price. Check this out: the price that I was going to take it for in June, a certain amount. When I had to pull out, it lowered. They lowered the price.
Okay.
A few months later, they lowered the price again.
Wow.
Price I got it at.
Wow.
So he's like, this is yours, but just hang fire for a minute because the price is going to get lower and you're going to pay less. And so I honestly believe that, you know, what you want is tied to helping somebody else. I believe I sacrificed a house of my own house and gave it to this girl. God blessed me with what I asked him for. And I've done that on a number of occasions. And if I'm really honest, if I think about one of the reasons why I meet these celebrities is because I help a lot of people. You know, I make a lot of sacrifices. Easy? No, it's never easy when God's telling you to give, like, you know, certain amounts. But honestly, I think if people can just get out of the mentality of clenched fists and hanging on, you can't get anything into a hand that's
right.
It's trying to something in, so you're gonna have to open it and be the channel that he's asking you to be, so that he can bring it back to you. So you know, don't be afraid to give, because you will never lose. You generally don't get it back from the person that you've given it to, but it's coming back to you. You know, it's coming back, so don't be afraid. So yeah, I just want to encourage people that it all starts with giving. Whatever it is that you want, even if it's not money, even if it's just clothes or a job, you know, go and volunteer somewhere, you know, make clothes to somebody, or just smile. You know, if you're looking for joy or happiness or friendship, into somebody, you know, so you do reap what you sow. Yeah, you do.
That is amazing. I think there are a number of things I could pick up on, but please, don't move. There is a huge animal inside your house behind you. I don't know if it looks like a horse. Is it? Is it really that big in real life? The thing came.
Come here, Max.
Wow. So this is Max. Oh my goodness.
Okay, sooner, so I'm just thanking God that it's
Right. Okay. he waited. Oh, is it a cat?
It's a cat.
It's a little cat. It's a tiny little cat. Do you know what? I thought it was the beast of Bodmin Moor. I didn't know what on earth was going on. Literally, so what must have happened? It must have walked across the back of the sofa, right? So I thought it was on the floor behind, like near the door. And I'm seeing this huge beast going across the back. Anyone listening to the podcast must think I'm crazy or something. Right? Go onto YouTube and watch the video and you'll see what I mean. I'm not crazy. Literally, this thing, I didn't see the head. I just saw the body. I thought, whoa, what is it? But,
what is that? Yeah.
Max the cat. Hey, Max.
Hey.
Oh, goodness me. All right. So, totally lost my train of thought. Keeping it professional today. Oh my goodness. But no, I think that analogy you said, you can't put anything into a closed fist. Yeah. I think that is so very, very powerful, because I think especially in scenarios or cultures or communities where people are trying very hard to transition out of certain social conditions, it becomes kind of like everybody needs to get what they can, and it's almost like a fight to get out of there. I think once people have broken through that barrier, they tend to give more. But I think that really the principle is to give on the way, just like to continue giving, because that it's like that pay it forward kind of movie thing that came out. It's a principle, isn't it? You kind of sowing and reaping principle, I guess.
Yeah, it really is. And even in times like this, we can see how fragile life is, and you can't take it with you. Tied to possessions, the possessions have you. Free to bless others, help others, and everything you do for somebody else will get back multiplied. So yeah. I don't think there's a time where I give where I'm actually really, really confident and really like, oh, this is great. Yeah. Out of your comfort zone, because if you're a millionaire and you're just given £1,000 or whatever, then that's nothing. That's just interest.
Yeah.
And you're actually really sacrificing, and you're giving when you know you haven't got it to give. That's the level. You get a special sin.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I'm going to take two questions from the people watching. It's from the same person, from Paul Morrison. He's asking, what would you say to your 18-year-old self? And what would you do differently?
Oh, Lord. 18. Gosh, I'm not sure I really knew what I was doing then. Yeah, I moved to London, actually. Is that on my, sorry. Yeah. I just moved to, maybe that's it. I just moved to London when I was 18. And I think I would probably have said to myself, just trust yourself, trust your gut instinct. Your gut instinct is there, your spirit is there to guide you. So listen to it and trust it, just your instincts a lot more. And don't listen to people that be careful who you surround yourself with as well. I think that's so important, because there's a lot of people out there that don't have your best interests at heart, and so be careful. Surround yourself with the right people.
Excellent. And I'll take one more from Paul. He's asking, he says, faith plays a major part in what you do. How do you encourage people / women who do not have faith?
Yeah. I never preach, so for me, it's not about bashing people with the Bible and scripture and all of that. That doesn't help anybody. So I think it's just show love. Just show it in your actions. Like that girl that I gave the house to is so funny, because she's not a Christian and she ended up preaching back to me on something else. So
okay.
Yeah, and she's listening to what I'm saying, like. So she talks about God more than I do. So I think it's just about encouraging people through your actions, and eventually they'll question and want to know more about, you know, your faith, but you don't have to bash people. Doesn't work.
No, it doesn't tend to. I think that the reality is people believe what they want to believe, and you can't force them to do otherwise. I think the reality is when people want to believe something, they do.
We were all the same, weren't we? Like, I believed till I was 30, so you could try. A lot of people have probably tried up until 30, but for the time. So. Yeah,
this is it. This is it. Okay, well, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. What's next for you? What is next for Natalie Louise Brown?
Good question. Well, definitely the women's home. So I've got a crowdfunding campaign that I'm putting together to raise the money to be able to do the renovation and everything for the home. So that's the major project coming up. And probably just more content. I'm trying to get more disciplined with my content and to be able to help and support people. And also YouTube as well, because I teach people YouTube marketing and how to how to improve their channels. Because, you know, people make these wonderful videos and then just put them up there and they want to get no views. Like, there's a strategy to be on YouTube. So you really do need to know what you're doing.
That's right, because it's a search engine. It's a search engine, and people don't realize that it is a search engine primarily.
Yeah,
it shows people's videos, but
so I people, you know, get started and get their channels up and get their get traction and engagement on their YouTube. So I love YouTube.
Brilliant. I think that will be our talk after I finish the show. Fantastic.
And also,
Well, Natalie, thank you so much again for joining us. I'll give you another round of applause. I really appreciate everything that you've shared. I know that it's been valuable to all the people that are listening. Any final words of wisdom you want to leave with everybody just before you leave?
I just want to encourage people, especially with 2020. You know, life is short, so don't be afraid to follow your dreams. Go out there, dream big. You know, don't worry about failing. You're gonna fail. You are going to fail. Let me just tell you that now. Save you the heartache of wondering. You are going to fail. But I just want to encourage you and say, you learn. You know, you fail, you learn, you move on, you try again, you do something in a different way. So don't procrastinate. There's something that you want to do, that you really want to do, then go out there and do it, because now is your time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Natalie. And you hang on in the background. I'll talk to you in a minute, but take care and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you. Thank you
so much. Thanks, guys.
Okay, everybody, that is that. I am back. We are back, and I told you it was going to be an amazing show. I know that you've got something out of this, so don't keep it to yourself. Share. Tell other people about this content and get it out there. Share with your friends and family. I have got more interviews coming up next week. You're going to be here with us live again for another interview, and I'll be posting in the Honey Block who the interview is with, and we've got some great interviews coming up in the next number of weeks leading up towards the end of the year. Good people, please follow Natalie online. Go to search for @Time with Natalie, okay, on social media, or search Nat Lou Brown to follow her personally, and also search for the website www.timewithnatalie.com to find out more information about all the great, amazing things that Natalie's did. We didn't even talk about the film reviews and all the other things that she does. So go to the website and check it out. Everybody, as per usual, have yourselves a wonderful week. Take care, look after yourself, stay safe. And if you're in an area of the country or the world that is locked down, be extra safe. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Take care.